The marriage record remains preserved in the Louisiana State Archives, faded and fragile, displaying the names of Jeremiah Aldrich and Celeste, noted merely as an asset under his signature. What renders this paper so unsettling isn't solely the horrific aspect of the bond between a plantation proprietor and his captive chef, but the 13 enigmatic fatalities that ensued in the weeks following their nuptials in March 1854. Periodicals from that period, meticulously kept in personal archives, suggest a scheme so intricate and vicious that officials suppressed the probe to shield some of Louisiana's elite clans. The reality of this coerced matrimony uncovers a network of deceit, retribution, and organized torment that astonished even the brutality accustomed pre-Civil War South. Before proceeding with the tale of Jeremiah Aldrich and the infernal destiny that befell him at Willowbrook Plantation, ensure you've subscribed to our channel and share in the comments which state you're tuning in from. Now allow me to transport you to an era where reputation was paramount and shattered loyalty could ruin a person in manners more dreadful than demise. The incidents leading to that profane union commenced 15 years prior in the shadowy marshes of the Mississippi Delta, where riches were forged from human bondage and tainted funds streamed as abundantly as the silt-laden waters. Jeremiah Aldrich wasn't descended from the planter nobility that shaped Louisiana's social order in the 1840s. The offspring of an unsuccessful tobacco cultivator from Kentucky, he reached New Orleans in 1839, armed only with fervent aspiration and a readiness to partake in dealings that more refined aristocrats avoided entirely. The commerce in slaves, though permissible, bore a societal taint among the venerable Creole lineages, who favored upholding the illusion that their affluence stemmed purely from sugarcane and cotton, not from the methodical trade in people. It was during the stifling heat of 1840 that Aldrich forged his alliance with Marcus Deveau and Samuel Rochelle, two individuals whose urgency equaled his own merciless drive. Deveau, the junior heir to a fading sugar magnate, required capital to rescue his clan's deteriorating estate from lenders. Rochelle, once a vessel commander who'd forfeited all to yellow fever and poor ventures, held priceless insights into clandestine slave pathways from Cuba and the Caribbean. Jointly, they founded what they termed the Delta Trading Enterprise. Functioning from a depot on New Orleans' fringes, where enforcement waned and origins of goods went unquestioned, the venture proved far more lucrative than anticipated. While lawful slave merchants handled verified chattels with explicit ownership and medical attestations, Aldrich's outfit focused on what they politely labeled retrieval operations. They acquired fugitives from defunct estates, procured abducted free blacks from dishonest trackers, and most profitably, imported new captives from prohibited vessels that defied the formal prohibition on global slave importation. The earnings were immense since their expenses were negligible. They disregarded the well-being, lodging, or fundamental dignity of their stock. For 3 years, the collaboration thrived in New Orleans' underbelly. They channeled gains into valid enterprises, acquiring prestige alongside holdings. Deveau preserved his family's holding and enlarged it into a top-tier sugar venture in St. Charles Parish. Rochelle bought a squadron of steamboats and rose as a esteemed transport tycoon. Aldrich himself obtained Willowbrook Plantation, a humble yet gainful cotton venture roughly 40 miles upstream from New Orleans, featuring a stately colonial residence that proclaimed his entry into Louisiana's agrarian upper class. Yet triumph fostered recklessness, and recklessness drew scrutiny from influential figures. In the spring of 1843, rumors arrived that national enforcers were probing illicit slave dealings along the Gulf shores. An informant had been inquiring about their affairs, scrutinizing transport logs, and alarmingly, questioning some of their past commodities who'd fled or secured liberty via alternate paths. The trio convened urgently in Aldrich's fresh library at Willowbrook, encircled by bound volumes he couldn't decipher and portraits of forebears not his. The atmosphere was stifling as each grasped that their realm of human anguish teetered on collapse. Devoe, ever the most anxious, proposed disbanding the alliance at once and obliterating all traces of their dealings. Rochelle, with his mariner's practicality, advocated a tempered strategy, relocating assets abroad and awaiting the inquiry's fade. But Aldrich harbored a divergent remedy, one exposing the profound void of his ethics. He'd already resolved to eradicate his associates and seize their joint holdings. However, he required a scheme that diverted blame from him while muting the duo who could dismantle him. The idea struck him with icy malevolence. He'd slay both and orchestrate the setting to imply mutual homicide over funds. With Devoe and Rochelle deceased, he'd emerge as the lone survivor of a sorrowful commercial clash, able to erase proof of their unlawful pursuits while retaining their amassed riches. The killings occurred on a muggy June night in 1843 at the depot that had housed their operations for 3 years. Aldrich scheduled the gathering feigning strategy for exiting the slave commerce. He selected the site wisely. The storage zone was mostly vacant post, sunset, and the structure was slated for raising the next month amid port expansion. Aldrich showed up ahead, hiding a charged firearm in his overcoat and a keen blade in his footwear. His scheme was savagely straightforward: fire at Devoe initially, then fabricate a blade duel with Rochelle ending in both fatalities, with him asserting self-preservation. He'd even lined up phony observers, 3 dock laborers he'd compensated, who'd vow they'd observed Devoe and Rochelle quarreling fiercely that day over vanished funds. Upon his associates' arrival, they encountered Aldrich at their standard planning desk, a flask of premium spirits and 3 tumblers amid ledgers and manifests. Dialogue started routinely, with Devoe outlining legal perils and Rochelle sketching asset shifts to Havana banks beyond U.S. jurisdiction. But as night deepened and liquor poured, Aldrich guided talk toward their hoarded wealth, particularly hidden cash spots in New Orleans banks and caches. It was Rochelle who first detected anomaly. The veteran mariner's senses, sharpened by perilous journeys and rough harbors, noted Aldrich's odd shifts: evasive gaze, hand-nearing coat, strained tone querying account details and safeguards. When Rochelle proposed delaying for lawyers the next day, Aldrich sensed his chance narrowing. The assault burst forth abruptly. Aldrich pulled his gun and shot Devoe squarely in the torso before reaction. The blast reverberated like a storm and Devoe toppled back, crimson blooming on his linen as his gaze widened in stun and treachery. Yet Rochelle, though surprised, showed greater tenacity than expected. The ex-captain flipped the sturdy table and charged with a shattered bottle, gashing Aldrich's cheek deeply, marking a lasting scar. The ensuing clash dragged nearly 10 minutes, exceeding Aldrich's forecast. Rochelle battled with the rage of one comprehending betrayal, rejecting quiet end. They smashed crates, strewn records, smeared blood everywhere, grappling for the boot knife. Ultimately, Rochelle's years doomed him. At 53, he couldn't rival the junior's vigor. Aldrich plunged the blade into Rochelle's abdomen, wrenching upward to his core as the elder scratched his neck. Even dying, Rochelle uttered haunting words: "My boy knows all. He'll hunt you. When grown, he'll exact payment." Aldrich then brushed it off as dying delirium. Unaware that Marcus Devoe's sibling, Philippe, had covertly chronicled their crimes, or that Samuel Rochelle's 17-year-old offspring, Henry, held exhaustive details of every deal, contact, and offense over 3 years. Aldrich devoted the next 4 hours staging the scene meticulously. He posed Devoe as if drawing a weapon when shot, placed Rochelle nearby with bloody knife and wounds implying mutual combat. He scattered currency for financial dispute illusion, wrecked the safe for botched theft, and self-inflicted cuts for bystander defense claim. The paid witnesses delivered, attesting to prior shouts over funds. A bribed laborer claimed hearing warehouse commotion, shots, and scuffle. Vitally, Aldrich crafted a plausible presence excuse, arrived to arbitrate, stumbled into lethal fray, fought to survive. New Orleans lawmen, swamped and keen to wrap a case of reputable merchants, swallowed Aldrich's tale with scant scrutiny. The verdict, DeVoe and Rochelle mutually slain in dispute, Aldrich narrowly spared. Within days, the depot was demolished, erasing residual traces. With partners gone and assets claimable, Aldrich swiftly amalgamated his gains, posing as surviving legitimate shipper with forged pacts transferring shares upon death. Banks wary of Trio's cash dealings trusted a documented cotton baron. In months, Aldrich drained every account, vault, and stash of his slain allies. He pegged the haul at almost $40,000, over $1 million today. Crucially, he'd silenced the sole links to Delta's illegality, freeing reinvention as esteemed Louisianan. But Aldrich erred gravely. Obsessed with proximate risks and loot, he overlooked victims' kin, especially younger relations who'd uncover truths and devote a decade to crafting revenge so complex and ruinous that death paled beside their designs. Philippe DeVoe was 22 at Marcus's slaying. Unlike elder DeVoe's favoring quick gains over strategy, Philippe's shrewd intellect rendered him deadlier than Aldrich conceived. As Marcus's confidant and shadow manager, Philippe kept meticulous logs, coded books of illicit buys, forbidden manifests, damning letters to crooked aides. Philippe distrusted Aldrich always. The Kentuckian's zeal for brutality's grim facets seemed overboard, even for flesh traders. He'd probed Aldrich's past pre-murders, uncovering history lies and fiscal oddities hinting deeper drives than avarice. News of Marcus's death hit Philippe at the clan's faltering estate. Initial response wasn't sorrow, but icy wrath. The narrative rang false to intimates. Marcus, cautious despite need, wouldn't assault Rochelle violently. Rochelle resolved via talks, not blades. Aldrich's tale held falsities, money refs to relocated accounts weeks prior. Post-funeral, Philippe launched his inquiry. Via network, he quizzed laborers, scanned logs, bribed cops for evidence. Findings affirmed suspicions, staged scene, paid lies, ignored/destroyed proofs. Critically, Aldrich accessed victims' finances hours post-death, belying bystander claim. Concurrently, Henry Rochelle probed financially. At 24, Samuel's son blended father's sea ties with legal/business schooling, ideal for tracing money trails. Henry's bank/shipping stints built clerk/manager/official bonds for info Philippe's direct method might skip. Henry's work exposed Aldrich's plunder scale, looted every Delta asset, over $60,000 in cash/property/investments from years of suffering-based gains. Henry's edge, grasping Louisiana's fiscal/legal mechanics. Unlike Philippe's evidence focus, Henry saw exploiting Aldrich's greed better. Instead of corrupt courts' swift justice, Henry plotted eroding Aldrich's base, exposing him to mirrored betrayal/violence. The youths met autumn 1844 over a year post-murders at a subtle French Quarter eatery. Philippe shared proofs to align probes, unexpected, skills/resources meshed perfectly, shared vengeance devouring their next decade. By 1845 spring, Philippe DeVoe and Henry Rochelle morphed solo justice hunts into refined peril, orchestrated plot demolishing Aldrich via his own tactics. Deceit, money tricks, veiled violence. Unlike Aldrich's rash savagery, theirs, systematic, enduring, utterly comprehensive. Initial stage, penetrate Aldrich's circles. Philippe, via clan ties, attended clubs/politics/events Aldrich joined as rising planter. Aim, not direct clash, but study routines, flaws, fiscal weak spots. Philippe's charm/social prowess positioned him as Aldrich's mild acquaintance. Strusty for drinks, not threatening. Henry traced Aldrich's empire via bank links, risky bets, loans, ventures yielding quick wins but long debts. Key, Aldrich's gambling vice, losing thousands in poker/races, funded by frantic loans on crops. Addiction offered ideal breach. By 1848, Henry worked First National Bank of New Orleans, holding Willowbrook's main loan. He tweaked subtly, higher rates, tight schedules straining cash at planting, nudging toward desperation ripe for control. Philip befriended gambling bosses, bribing for Aldrich invites to costlier games with colluding players ensuring massive losses. Plan's elegance, patience/subtlety, no hasty attacks, erode fiscal pillars sustaining status/self, each due loan stressed, each loss deepened despair, each flop pushed ruin, priming for final penalty. By 1851, fruits showed, debts near $30, interest-devouring profits, sold land chunks for losses, elite whispered Willowbrook's woes, Aldrich's temper soured, suspecting neighbors, frantic for cash. But Philip/Henry sought beyond ruin, mirror victims' terror/humiliation. He must grasp prosperity's blood basis, respectability lie, justice's arrival, end phase, drive past desperation to inescapable terms, death preferable but delayed for vengeance appreciation. Henry ideated using Aldrich's slaves for downfall. Owners feared revolts, exploit master, slave psyche, not real uprising risky/unethical, but subtle, force slave marriage for ultimate shame, ruining status, powerless legally. Celeste's choice deliberate, months studying Willowbrook's people for max damage/control. At 38, Celeste's build minor, key, smarts, survival, loyalty, Aldrich hatred. Unlike masked compliance, Celeste showed open scorn. Cooked well, but eyes burned fury near him. Roots, bought 1847 from Mississippi flop, split from husband/3 kids sold apart. Aldrich could buy all but took only Celeste, needing cook, deeming others excess. Begged for youngest, he mocked orphanage quip. 7 years, cooked feasts for family. Destroyer ate scraps, heard success tales knowing blood. Built, cleaned bloodied garb from night jaunts. Saw burned docks amid debt woes. Celeste amassed Aldrich intel. Routines, habits, stomach ills, paranoia. New favorites, meds, frequented rooms. Perfect for harm/manipulation. Direct contact risky. Used free color intermediaries with market/visit excuses. Built comms, small pay for Aldrich info, exceeded hopes. Celeste waged subtle psyche war over salted food worsening gut, broke items, spread sale rumors stressing paranoia without proof. Revealing identities/plans, Celeste pledged aid destroying mutual foe. Soul demand, freedom/Canada passage for child reunion. Philip/Henry consented, seeing aligned partner. Plan finalized months. Ruin via rigged losses/called loans, force marriage or creditor death. Union Rex status, grants property access via wife control. Celeste poisons slowly, mirroring victim's agony. Timing vital, collapse when isolated, no aid. Chance, 1854, Aldrich's New Orleans heist. Dake's tourney for salvation funds. Ideal trap spring, desperate for any degrading lifeline. Aldrich's doom venue, waterfront warehouse turned. Den for desperate/dangerous risks. February 1008, 154 Eve, humid, oppressive, river fog muffled sounds, blurred real/dream. Aldrich entered with $8,000 satchel, scraped from slave/gear sales last plantation salvage bid. Unbeknownst, Philip/Henry orchestrated table players colluding to strip him. 5. Card stud $5. 100+ hands escalating. Early wins built false hope. Stakes rose, booze flowed, bets reckless from despair/wins. Midnight, half stake gone, played on grasping last shot. Players let wins to retain him, then pressured till fortunes bet on cards. Final hand post 2 a.m., thick fog dimmed lights. Aldrich's visible kings promised full house, shoved $3,000 remnant. But stronger hands' coordinated bets bankrupted him beyond repayment. Kings fell to strangers full house, who gathered winnings assuredly. Reality hit. Aldrich froze at bare table. Players left. Winner stayed, eyeing like lab subject. Silence broke. French. Tinged voice. Mr. Aldrich, discuss debts. Gentlemen represent interests patient with troubles. Patience ends. Philippe emerged from shadows, face evoking murdered brothers. Blood chilled. Seen a ghost, perhaps. Philippe Deveau, you knew Marcus well. Last to see him live. Warehouse iced despite humidity. Traps decade prep, hatred clear. Henry appeared, encircling. Father Samuel called you clever. Enough for murder/theft, not for sons remembering killers. River horns distant. Aldrich paralyzed, isolated, broke. No search if vanished. Philippe sat opposite. Know all. Delta illegals, warehouse slayings, forges, bribes, blood-lived respectability on corpses. Henry spread docs, transactions since 43, looted accounts, transfers, letters to officials now self-preserving. Authentic, recognized, destroyed items, bribed statements. Case implicated Louisiana notables in laundering, now plans, Fed prosecution or New Orleans exposure. Death with pain likely. Aldrich whispered, want money, I can. Plantation worthless, Henry cut. We hold mortgage/debts, acquired years, nothing bargains but life, uninterested preserving. Implications sank, mercy, dependent, stripped by victim sons, yet alternative, dignity sacrifice, public true nature admission, submission demo. Henry smiled coldly, Mary slave Celeste, public, legal, permanent, lave as husband, present to neighbors as property, wed, grotesque beyond antebellum norms, legal/social suicide, humiliation death, merciful. Insane, no preacher/court, arranged, indebted minister performs legal right, law binds executed contracts, Henry, choice, refuse face pain, consequences, or humiliation for degraded life, silence, death preserves rep, gambler/failure, not murderer. Marriage destroys, alive for torment, how long, lifetime, sacred, though health suggests not long, clear, slow death as marriage, spirit, body torture, alternative, warehouse execution, river dump. Just when horror peaks in this Louisiana den, it deepens. If chilling, share with dark. Mystery fan, like to support, subscribe for more. After seeming hours, mere minutes, Aldrich-eyed tormentors, guarantee no kill anyway, none, Henry Blunt. But word, compliant death pleasanter than planned, marriage, behavior test, kindness rewards, resistance creative punishment. Philippe placed contract, prepared, ceremony tomorrow Willowbrook, neighbors invited for voluntary slave elevation via conversion. Humiliation, present as choice, Christian act not coercion. No suspicion of Deveau/Rochelle ties unknown. Aldrich signed shaking terms, marry/lave/provide as spouse, exchange, debt pause, overseen operation. Signed, diluted escape possible. Authorities/flee/loophole, but eyes showed decade. Anticipated all escapes. Welcome, brother, in law. See you tomorrow, dress fittingly. March 15, 1008, 154 dawn, gray rain, threat swamped, stench wind. Aldrich paced sleepless, eyeing life, destroying contract. Celeste feigned surprise at awkward breakfast explanation of finances/obligations. Nodded, yes, Master Aldrich, understand. Prepare for right. Calm terrified more than rage. Hinted prior knowledge/coordination. Watched kitchen efficiency, realized thoroughness underestimated. Day, guests arrived via Philippe/Henry invites in Aldrich's name. For Christian charity witness, expected jest/insanity, found organized wedding, decor, food, committed groom. Aldrich finest, attired, performed desperately for survival, repeated conversion/duty to queries, seeming sincere, Celeste in provided gown, dignified despite build, pleased, thanked for life's key day. Minister efficient, vows, responses. Speak/hold peace shifts, but no challenge to seeming voluntary. Aldrich's vows faint, Celeste's firm, pronounced kiss. Aldrich paled, near collapse. Celeste steadied gently, brief kiss sealing union/destruction start. Guests left bewildered, Aldrich alone with wife in once. Symbolic house now alien. Celeste rearranged authoritatively, emphasizing mistress. Protest met stare, years hatred. Married now Jeremiah, partners, act accordingly. First night shared bed, understood punishment beyond death. Daily powerlessness reminder by crime. Knower, every meal/word/gesture, blood/theft recall, but horror escalated, marriage revenge start, not ends. Slow destruction warehouse, merciful. First marriage month, deceptive normal, Celeste managed staff, entertained sparse visitors, upheld pretenses. Outsiders, functional as any union, but Aldrich noted changes. Bitter coffee despite same prep. Meals nauseating/tiring. Headaches/dizziness worsening near wife. Blamed stress/mercy. Dependence initially. Weeks, symptoms worsened, suspected deliberate. Confirmed by Dr. Hamilton Warren Post. Collapse in buyer meat. Exam. Chronic poisoning signs. Snake-like. Gut/nerve ruin. Serious, prolonged exposure. Without source removal/treatment fatal. Feared wife intent. Measured food/drink doses natural. Seeming slow death. Confront useless/dangerous wife. Protected innocent. Appearing tied to controllers. Accuse, deny, trigger violent end for paranoia. Instead, precautions, secret meals/self, sourced hidden tools well, water only, locked solo room, temporary relief but new issues, visitors noted gaunt/nervous/food avoidance. Parish buzz, mental instability from marriage stress, Celeste masterful, showed wifely concern for suffering spouse. Prepared refused meals, offered declined drinks, behavior as devoted rejected by madmen. Brilliance, defenses as delusions, not threats. Refusals, irrational fear, secrecy, breakdown proof. Explanations to Warren/others, dismissed as stress raves. No belief enslaved woman capable sophisticated plot/poison access. Late spring 1854, night, miraculate wife, murder grasp as instability evidence, bound to killer, protection/help seen as madness, but torture continued. Philip/Henry designed isolation, relation ruin. Die alone/friendless justice, convinced despite plans, truth cruelly revealed at Celeste's 3-month anniversary dinner, neighbors Warren, society remnants, Aldrich pre-ate planned avoidance, but surprise, cellar-aged wine toast to future, opened/poured visibly untampered. Toast, refusal insane seeming, raised glass, saw wife's mask slip. Victory satisfaction, too late, hoped quick poison, effects swift, cramps breath, burn collapse clutching guests, final mad breakdown. Warren examined, Celeste hysterical hindered, sobbing/save please, distracted aid, performance, guests comforted her over emergency. Dying, Celeste whispered, Marcus my cousin, Samuel uncle. In-law, with Philip/Henry since 45, waiting your slow/painful/alone death like theirs. Revelation, wife's hatred personal, not tool, months with conspirator, every act, performance maximizing suffering/minimizing suspicion, vision fading, heard Celeste's grief act, begging Warren/God, convincing loss devastation. Guests supportive, saw accident not revenge, Aldrich died 9:47 p.m. June 18, 1854 natural from exhaustion, well-attended funeral, Celeste widow, convincing, offered plantation aid, none suspected graveside celebrant of history's elaborate murder. But story continued, Philip/Henry planned property/widow fate, Celeste inherited debts, laden Willowbrook, month post, transferred to them for debt wipe, vanished north, Free/new life unknowing history. Records raised no flags amid war approach. Story minor eccentric footnote, but families whispered alternate. 11-year conspiracy calibrated justice. Warning, betray partners with smart/ruthless kin. Philip/Henry prosecuted untouchable case. Executed unimposable sentence. Evidence free. Used systems function knowledge. Willowbrook Post. Death. Refuge for freed/escaped. Underground railroad station. Horrifying to trafficker. Enemy property vs. his institution. Legacy weapon against values. Remarkable. Erased Aldrich. Wealth to victim's kin. Property contra values. Rep self. Destroyed. No monuments/line/record. Deleted as non-existent. Mystery teaches justice beyond laws, especially protecting powerful over weak. Your thoughts, all revealed, comment, enjoyed, subscribe, bell, share mysteries, lover, next video soon.